This presentation is called Show Your Thinking, and it's from the 99 Ideas and Activities for Teaching English Learners using the SIOP model. And I did this for Edu 540 Content Level ESL at SUNY Fredonia in the spring of 2023. Hello, I'm Regina. I live in Jamestown, New York, home of Lucille Ball and the National Comedy Center. I love sci-fi shows, Quantum Leap, Young Sheldon, ghosts, and superhero stories like Superman and Lois. I love to stream these shows on Peacock and Paramount Plus. I am presenting this strategy today, Show Your Thinking, from the SIOP book, page 108. This can be used for students in grades 3 through 12. The content and language objectives. For the content objective, the students will be able to identify and note information in a text that is important, confusing, familiar, unusual, or for which they have a question. The language objective is that students will make notations in a nonfiction text while reading. The materials you will need for this strategy are a nonfiction text of your choice, sticky notes or arrows and pencils, or plastic sheets and dry erase pens. Now, you don't need everything on this page. You could just use the pencils and sticky notes, or just use the dry erase markers and the plastic pages. The students will be using these symbols to respond to text that they are reading. The star means I already know this concept or fact. The exclamation point means this is something that is unusual or surprising. The question mark means I have a question about this word or concept, or I am confused about this part of the article or chapter. And the plus sign means this is an idea or concept that is new to me. So these are the symbols the students will be using to respond to the text that they are reading. And as they're reading and going along, they will make little marks, either the plus sign, the star, the question mark, or the exclamation point next to the text. And that's why we're using dry erase plastic sheets to cover the textbook, because these are usually school textbooks which cannot be written into because they belong to the school and they are only being borrowed by the students temporarily. Or you can use the pencils and the sticky notes. This is to protect the school property. So post these symbols so students can see them, and decide whether you're going to be using sticky notes and pencils, or if you're going to use plastic sheets and dry erase markers for students to make their notations and to respond to the nonfiction text that you have supplied to them. It came to me that you could also use overhead projector sheets to lay over textbook pages instead of plastic pockets, so you wouldn't have to make photocopies that would be thin enough to fit into the plastic pockets, because textbooks are much too thick to fit into a plastic pocket. So these overhead projection sheets are often discarded by schools these days because it's seen as old technology, but it's really a useful thing to have as an ENL teacher for this particular strategy. And while students are reading, you could circulate to assist them as needed, and they might require some directions in the native language. So this can be done in print. Also, if you do speak the student's native language, then it would be possible to give them instructions verbally at the time that they need it. After the text is read, students can meet with partners to share their notations and use of symbols, and clarify and share their understandings and questions. And at this point, emerging bilinguals could be placed in groups of a similar language so that they would be able to partly share in their native language if necessary. And then when they come together as a whole class, they would express in English why they made the choices they did. Why did they put the exclamation points or the question marks or the stars where they did? What was their response? Why were they doing that? And emphasize that this is a process that can be used throughout their lives. And I often do make notations in my textbooks as a college level student. So this is something that college students do all the time, but since they own the books, they're not using sticky notes or markers or plastic protectors, because as college students we purchase our books and we mark them up heavily, I might add. So to differentiate instruction, you could change the difficulty level of the text provided depending on the student's reading and language development needs. So there is a website called News ELA, and it's available to the general public, and it has special features for educators. And I would like to show that to you. This is the News ELA website, and I found an article called TikTok Sets New 60-Minute Daily Screen Limit Time for Minors. And I thought this was a very exciting topic because everybody loves to make TikTok videos. And as you can see here, this is available at 580, at 860, at 1080, at 1250, and at maximum difficulty level. So take a look at what happens here. TikTok has said that every account held by a user under the age of 18 will have a default 60-minute daily screen time limit in the coming weeks. That is quite a mouthful for a beginning L student. So you can adjust the level. You've got 5 levels to choose from here, and you could take it down to the most basic level, and instead now it says, TikTok is an app for sharing videos. Changes are coming for young people on TikTok. Those who are under 18 years old will have a time limit, TikTok said. So the sentences are much simpler the lower the level. If you have students that you find this way too easy, then you would move them up to the mid-level here. Changes are coming to TikTok accounts held by young people. Anyway, this is such an awesome thing to have, and you can print these out, and for each student, depending on their level of reading. As well, these are also often available in Spanish. And I have my own account, and I suggest that you sign up for an account too. It's a great free thing to have. If you have an educator account, an educator email, then you get a free account, which is awesome. I've loved it. So, as far as I've seen, all News ELA articles are offered in Spanish for bilingual classes or extra support. So that's something you're going to have to make a judgment call on, whether you're going to provide students with these articles in Spanish as well. There's also 5 levels of reading, so you might not need that much support. With the 5 levels of reading, you may have enough support there. You can also differentiate by doing small groups with some students while others work independently with partners or in small groups. You could incorporate Show Your Thinking into your weekly lesson planning, and you could also expand the symbols for students to express their thoughts and explain their choices. And here I put an example of how they could change the symbols and step it up a notch. If you do this every week, the students may like to increase the number of notations that they're making, the kinds of notations. Why is this good for emerging bilingual students? Giving them lots of comprehensible input with low-stress comprehensible output is good for emerging bilingual students. And you should take into consideration the individual reading level of each student when you provide them the input. I would not give a maximum level reading assignment to an emerging ELL student. So you need to know their reading level and what they can handle before you assign this. L's can do the same activity at their own level that other students are also doing in class, and they get a chance to dialogue with each other about their choices. Social interaction and discussion gives the emerging bilingual students a chance to talk to their peers for academic purposes, and that is very important for them to be using English to talk to other students for a reason, for an academic reason. In some classroom settings, the material could be provided in the home language that the students are responding to. So I did this with Slides Mania, which is an awesome resource. And thank you very much for watching my presentation.